Liz is back in Arkansas with her mom, and they're getting ready to go over to Ed's place and pack up all of her things for the movers to pick up. And her mom has some pretty choice words to say about Ed to the cameras.
My daughter is my first priority. She's the reason I'm here. That stupid man had exactly what he was looking for, what he was asking for.
Yeah,
And
he
he
did.
just tossed it to the side.
Threw it
He
away.
is not going to find another
Threw it
woman
away.
because everything that son of a bitch told me was nothing but an outright lie. You know, the
And
promises
he
he
put all this on
made,
national
and that he's
TV.
going to take care of
I don't
her
think
and
he'll
he's
get a
going to
good
be there
woman
for her
unless
and he's going to treat her like
he
a
hasn't
queen.
watched this show.
Bull. So she has to go in, do her thing, and get out without any
Yep.
confrontation, without any drama, without any hassle. He thinks he's
Mm-hmm.
God's gift to women, and he's just God's gift to.
She's absolutely right. We then see Ed, and he informs us that he bought a pontoon boat and that things are going well for him. He then says that he does not see anyone being with Liz long term because of how she acts and handles herself in confrontation. He says that he gets most of the blame and that she doesn't handle or take responsibility for her part of things because he says it takes two to break up. But Ed, you're constantly dragging this girl back in, breaking up with her, and then dragging her back in. I see the only problem with Liz as having no self esteem, no self confidence, because she can't put her foot down and say, enough is enough with you. You used that girl until you couldn't use her anymore. Now you're done with her. Now you're ready for your new life. You're an idiot, Ed. We see Michael and Angela, and they look like they're at like a bar or restaurant. They're fighting in public once again. Angela thinks that Michael's lying to her. Michael is trying to explain the whole visa process and how he's looked up information from on social media and learned from other people about their visa process so that he has a little bit more information going into it. Angela accuses him of lying. She yells at him. I feel like she's being financially abusive towards Michael because Michael can't work. She gives him money, and he was trying to explain how they have a piggy bank system in Nigeria. Both rich people and poor people use it, and they just set money aside. And she's freaking out at him, saying, "Oh, you're going to use this money to run away from me." Like, it's almost as if she predicted her own future. Like, I don't know, if someone was constantly yelling at me and stuff, don't you think I would be squirreling money away? Any logical person would be. I don't think he was initially doing it for that reason, but I feel like it did help when he did leave Angela. She sees a group called Paradise Men, and Michael is the administrator of this group. He says that the group is all about him giving out information that he's learned from other people to help them with their visa journeys. She turns it around, twists it somehow into thinking that it's a group that he's running to show other men how to scam American women. It's completely ridiculous. She throws a drink at him, humiliates him once again in public. Typical Angela. Gino and Jasmine are shopping for a brand new washing machine since Gino's was about 20 some years old and finally kicked the bucket. They're awkwardly kind of put their relationship problems aside. I mean, I guess that's how you would say it. It seems like there's a lot of tension and they just don't talk about things when serious issues arise. They just kind of sweep it under the rug. I can see this marriage exploding very soon. And I do believe in real time that Gino does catch Jasmine cheating and throws her out. So maybe we'll get to see it on an episode. That would be very interesting. Anyways, this is what they're doing inside of the washing machine store. And or the washing machine store, the appliance store, sorry. And Jasmine, she brings up the fact that they have money for things for the house. I mean, that's a good thing, but she is upset that they just don't seem to have the money for her and what she wants to do. And she brings this up inside the store, and then they continue to talk about it and argue about it. It's a classic thing. It seems like a lot of these couples go into public, and I don't know why, for whatever reason. Probably producers poking at them, but they end up arguing. I mean, I think we've seen Rob and Sophie argue 2 or 3 times inside the sex shop. It's ridiculous. Anyways, back to Gino and Jasmine. Gino has lunch with his uncle Marco, and his uncle Marco gives him some advice and tells him just to let her do the pageant. Jasmine was very independent in Panama, and he thinks that it's a good idea. Plus, it's one less thing for them to argue about. Gino tells Jasmine that Uncle Marco gave him that advice and that he had paid for the pageant, so she is signed up and already paid for. However, he says that he wants 2 things from her, which is to be nice to him, don't start arguments, and when they are arguing, not to say very mean, hurtful things. Then that starts a whole another argument inside the store. It's completely ridiculous at this point. We see Sophie and her mom having a morning coffee. They're staying at Kay's place, Sophie's friend, and they're talking about how they're going to be getting together with Rob later on and having a conversation. Sophie's mom really wants to have a conversation and a sit down with Rob and give him a piece of her mind. However, Sophie thinks that Rob should be the one to be doing most of the talking. Patrick, Thais, and John are all coming back from Patrick's dad's ranch. They decide that they're not going to have Elise's party there because it'd just be too much to fix up the place and buy the food and the tables and the chairs for the party. John completely thinks he's being used. And so does Thais. John actually called Patrick's dad out on his crap, and Patrick's dad did not really care for that too much. Patrick explains to us that the reason why he's so lenient with his dad and wants to help him out as much as possible is because his mother passed away just a few months ago, and his dad is the only parent he has left alive and someone that he can look up to and speak to and just have someone there for him. He says he doesn't get a lot of opportunity to spend a lot of time with him, and so he feels kind of obligated to help him out financially. We then find out that Jose not only charges them for an apartment down there in Brazil, but he also uses it, pretty much lives in it, washes his clothes and all that other stuff in it while they're not there for the majority of the year. And they still have to pay rent on top of this. I agree with John. This is completely ridiculous. And he thinks that Patrick should save that money, part ways with the apartment, and get his own investment. And then that way he could give it to Elise when she grows up and he's gone. And I completely agree with that. That sounds way smarter than just to give his money to his father. And what about his own daughter, right? We see Kobe and Emily waiting patiently to meet up with Kobe's ex girlfriend. Emily's starting to get very frustrated and wanting to know the answers to her questions. And Kobe's just a little bit worried that because of Emily's selfishness, she could ruin the trip, which I kind of understand. He just wants to be there and have fun because he hasn't been there in 3 years. And they are getting married. So I don't understand what's the big deal of her making an issue out of this. I feel like it's a non issue and she should just be looking forward to the wedding. So it's getting late and Kobe is worried and wants to get back. He mentioned that he did text her the time and he did say that his wife was going to be there and that's why he thinks that she's not showing up. Emily wants some answers, so Kobe starts to explain to her his side of things of how everything went down between him and his ex and how they were over. Emily just ultimately wanted to make sure that Kobe's foot wasn't half in, half out. Like that he wasn't still in love with his ex, but got her pregnant. And Kobe explains that he didn't have any feelings for her. He was moving on and living his life. And they just kind of did not communicate until Emily got pregnant. And then he had to let her know for sure, hey, I'm moving on with this lady, and this is a different chapter in my life. Emily seems totally responsive to this and accepts this answer. Ashley thinks Manuel is totally overreacting about the student loan debt she owes. She tells him it's very common for most North Americans to have some sort of student loan debt. And Manuel is just very overwhelmed by this. He is not cool with her going and spending money on other stuff instead of taking care of that loan. And just like I said before, I don't know why these couples decide to get in public and air their dirty laundry, but here we go. Manuel is still calling out Ashley about keeping that debt from him and saying, why are you always calling me out for secrets, but yet you kept this huge secret? And they're right in the middle of the grocery store. Manuel steps up and says he wants to take over financial responsibility for their household and all their expenses, and says that he was even talking to his brother and that they need money. Ashley wants to know how much money they need, and she says Manuel says $300. She is perplexed by this and wonders why the family needs $300. And Manuel tells her it's not important. Well, it kind of is important, Manuel. You accuse her of keeping secrets, which she did, which was a pretty big secret. However, you can't just tell her, oh, I need this money and it's not important. You don't need to know where it's going to. Because if that was me, I would want to know where my money is going to. I think anybody would. So they're being secretive on both sides. I'm not sure if this couple would even last because of all the secrecy, and they seem to have quite an animosity towards each other. So we'll see how this plays out.